Let me know down in the comments right now. Pick a starting quarterback for the Silver and Black. If you're going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo, I want you to type JG. If you're going to roll with the rookie, Aidan O'Connell, I want you to type AOC. Let's talk about it. That's what the Raiders Report is all about. I'm Mitchell Renz. You're watching the Raiders Report by Chat Sports. And coming up on the show, I'm going to answer who should be the Las Vegas Raiders starting quarterback moving forward. I know I told y'all to spam AOC or JG. I'm going to give you my answer at the very, very end of today's show. But guess what? Josh McDaniels on Monday said this, that Jimmy Garoppolo will remain the team's starting quarterback after he clears the concussion protocol. There's probably going to be some people up here that say, Mitch, this show doesn't matter. McDaniels has already given his opinion. Guess what? I do not value Josh McDaniels' opinion at all because he's made a lot of decisions as a head coach of the Raiders. Doesn't mean that it's been the right one. Doesn't mean that it's been a good one. My idea of this show when we created it was how can we give the nation a voice? So when you watch a show like this, I want you to know that you have a voice, and I want it to be heard. In terms of comparing the two quarterbacks, Jimmy Garoppolo and Aidan O'Connell this season, this is what we got. Aidan, compared to Jimmy G, the completion percentage favors Garoppolo 68.1 compared to 61.5. Passing yards per game, that favors Aidan O'Connell, but slightly. The touchdown-to-interception ratio, Garoppolo 5-6, Aidan O'Connell 0-1. The overall QBR, that is not a typo, that is in fact the QBR for Aidan. It's 8.2, which is about as bad as it gets. The highest you can get is 100 on this one. From a fumbling standpoint, Aidan put the ball on the ground 3 times, 2 were lost. Jimmy Garoppolo has lost 1 fumble this season. So both quarterbacks have had some turnover issues. Both quarterbacks have, well, let's just call it, haven't played all that well. So coming up here on the Raiders Report, I'm going to give you my answer of who the Raiders should start at QB because I don't know if it should be Jimmy Garoppolo. I know some people think it should be Aidan O'Connell. Hell, I know some people out there are like, you know what, Mitch, I want to get Caleb Williams. I want to tank. If that's your mindset, then you should probably spam Brian Hoyer down below. But this is the biggest thing that I can get right now, Raider Nation to rally behind. I don't care if you want it to be Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't care if you wanted it to be Brian Hoyer. I don't care if you wanted it to be Aidan O'Connell. Every single person that's repping with the silver and black, I truly think this. Everybody wants Josh McDaniels to get fired. And I promise you, I'm going to do everything in my power so that the Raiders hear my voice, but I need all of y'all to rally behind me. Subscribe to the Raiders Report if you want the silver and black to fire Josh McDaniels. My opinion on who should be the Raiders starting quarterback is it needs to be Aidan O'Connell. And it needs to be AOC over Jimmy Garoppolo for the remainder of the season. And coming up here on the show, I'm going to lay out so many reasons why I do honestly believe that Aidan O'Connell gives this Raiders team a better opportunity to win football games. Notice that I said team, because the team is better with Aidan O'Connell. Aidan O'Connell, I get it. He fumbled 3 times. He lost 2 of them. And he had a terrible interception late in the game. All of those things are true. But when you start a rookie quarterback, you have to understand that you're going to take lumps. Yes, the game was on the road. Technically, you could consider it a home game. But up against a tough Chargers team. The other thing that I think people are just forgetting about is how many times O'Connell was pressured. How bad the offensive line played yesterday. It was by far the worst offensive line game of the season, and it's not close. He was sacked 7 times, 6 by Khalil Mack. Jimmy Garoppolo has been sacked 4 times in 3 games. Like, how are we not going to add that into the consideration a little bit? And, you know, I go on social media, I look around, and when I see certain tweets, when I see certain other content creators that I respect, and they give an opinion, and I'm like, man, I feel that. I got to do a better job of giving them a platform as well. My guy, Raider Honcho, he might not need one. He's got a hell of a YouTube channel as well. But when he said this, I felt it. Some of you guys are sick. Beg for a rookie to get the start after being inactive for weeks. Then he gets the start, and some of you want to throw him in the trash because he's struggling in his first game in a system that Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo struggled in as vets. It's not Madden. He's 100% right. If you're going to put a rookie quarterback out there, you got to understand that you're going to take your lumps. But guess what? Jimmy Garoppolo has been bad. And I mean bad. And if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get this long leash, why can't we give one to Aidan O'Connell? Because I have a lot of numbers that prove that the Raiders, in my personal opinion, from what I've seen so far this season, would be better off with AOC, Aidan O'Connell, than they would with Jimmy Garoppolo. And coming up here, here's every reason why McDaniels, if he was intelligent, would roll with Aidan, would roll with the stash. I know I look kind of silly rocking the stash. Fiance wants me to keep it. We'll see if we end up keeping it here. I know some of y'all probably think it's funny watching me with a mustache. Some of y'all probably enjoy comedy. If you do enjoy comedy, I have an amazing show sponsor for y'all. Shout out to Game Time, last-minute ticket deals. Chugs, he got lucky. He got the hook up. He went to Chappelle a few months ago. I didn't take advantage of the deal, and I'm kind of kicking myself in the butt for it here a little bit. But shout out to Game Time for sponsoring the Raiders Report. I know some of y'all who follow me on social media saw that I got my fiance, Alex, her dad, tickets to the Raiders-Cowboys preseason game. And if anybody out there needs an awesome app to be able to get tickets because, I don't know, you're traveling to Las Vegas, maybe you want to go watch a baseball game, maybe you want to go watch a basketball game, hockey, comedy, theater, they got a whole lot of amazing deals over on the Game Time app. So, Nation, create an account and redeem code RaidersChat for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concert, comedy, theater, and a whole lot more. To me, it's the perfect app for buying tickets when you're planning on visiting Las Vegas. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code RaidersChat for $20 off first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code RaidersChat for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. The link for all y'all is going to be down in the comments. It's going to be in the description of today's show. I know how frustrating watching the Raiders can be. But you know what? Being in that Raider stadium around a bunch of other Raider fans, even if the Raiders are bad on the field, those experiences, creating memories is why I love Game Time. And Game Time is going to help you create a lot of amazing memories with a lot of amazing people. Take advantage of this deal that we got going on right now with them. $20 off with code RaidersChat. Here's the reason number one of why Aidan O'Connell should start. The Raiders team is better with AOC under center than Jimmy Garoppolo. But Mitch, the Raiders lost yesterday. You're right. The Raiders did lose yesterday, and it was a tough game to be able to watch, especially the way that it ended. But you know what? Your head coach, he put the rookie in a very difficult spot. And instead of encouraging him after the game, he decided to rip him down and shred him after Aidan knew that he struggled. But you know what I loved about Aidan? Even though he had a bad game leading up to it, he still put the Raiders in a spot to win. That takes a very mentally strong human being, and we need a very mentally strong quarterback. But let's look at just the first 4 weeks of the season. Week 1, Jimmy Garoppolo scored 17 points. Week 2, Jimmy G scored 10 points. Week 3, Jimmy Garoppolo scored 18. So you're telling me, in a veteran like Jimmy Garoppolo, who has had all these NFL starts underneath his belt, put up only 17 points, just like Aidan O'Connell did in his first NFL start. How many people out there think that the Denver Broncos are as good as the Los Angeles Chargers? The Denver Broncos had 70 points dropped on them. Jimmy G put up only 17. I get it. Aidan only put up 17 too, but he's a rookie. I think if you gave him a few more starts underneath his belt, he'd get better and better and better as well. Let's talk about yards this season. All right, Jimmy G, his first start this year with McDaniels, had 261. 240. Oh, but Mitchie had 362. If you watch this game right here, and this isn't just Jimmy Garoppolo yards, I'm talking total yards of offense, I should put that. So total yards of offense. The Raiders had so many garbage time yards in that fourth quarter against Pittsburgh because they were getting their shit pushed in for most of the game. But guess what? In the first game, Aidan O'Connell, the offense had more total yards than Jimmy Garoppolo against a superior opponent, against a team that sacked him 7 times. Let's then go to plays, because one of the things that was driving me nuts with this Raiders team was their inability to sustain drives, which then puts a lot more pressure on the defense. One of the things that's not being talked about enough is this Raiders defense played a lot better yesterday. It's probably the best game that I've seen them play in quite some time, but they were fresh, especially in the second half. And even though the Raiders had 3 costly turnovers, and even though they only put up 17 points, they were able to move the football. They were able to sustain drives. So to me, I'd be more willing to bet on a kid. Yeah, he had 3 bad turnovers, no doubt about it. But I believe in Aidan O'Connell's got the right head on his shoulders to be able to move on and continue to get better and better and better as the time goes on, because in his first game as a rookie against a superior opponent, And the Los Angeles Chargers, a game that he got the shit kicked out of him. He was still able to put solid drives together, and if he doesn't turn over the football, the Raiders win that game pretty easily. And the Raiders' defense was better because the offense was able to sustain longer drives. So here's my opinion on Aidan. Despite 3 costly turnovers, Aidan O'Connell in his first NFL start moved the football better than Jimmy Garoppolo did in his first start with McDaniels, and he was sacked 7 times. O'Connell had a tougher matchup when comparing the Broncos and Chargers, so I believe that the Raiders should give AOC another shot. If you want to be heard, here's your opportunity. Like the video right now if you don't think it matters who starts at quarterback, because McDaniels, he still stinks. I see people freaking out because they don't care anymore about watching this Raiders game. They don't care about watching the Raiders anymore, which breaks my heart a little bit because no matter what, I'm going to be here every game day. Monday, Sunday, Thursday, it don't matter. I'm going to be live multiple times a week because I bleed silver and black, and I love this team. There's no doubt about it. But I get how frustrating it can be. And I understand that a lot of people are like, Mitch, it doesn't matter if it's Jimmy Garoppolo, if it's Aidan O'Connell, if it's Brian Hoyer. Josh McDaniels sucks. If you think McDaniels sucks, click that like button. Let's go to reason number 2 here of why AOC should start. Josh Jacobs finally got it going against the Chargers. And I get it. The Chargers probably have a defense that you can run on, and Jacobs has a good history of going up against the Chargers. But also on top of that, the defenses weren't able to stack the box as much. And go back, watch the film. The Chargers defense respected Aidan O'Connell's ability. I get it. He didn't take many deep shots. That also is kind of on, Josh McDaniels here a little bit. He took a few deep shots, but they weren't able to stack the box. And Jacobs finally was able to get it going. And I think one of the reasons why the Raiders were able to move the football, because they did, they moved the football. They just didn't put up points because of the turnovers there, which, again, that's kind of what that game was yesterday. But when you get Josh Jacobs going, it opens up your entire offense. And I am a believer, if you open it up with Jacobs, it's going to open it up with more and more and more because there's going to be more chemistry for AOC and this team overall. I mean, look at these Jacobs' total yards. Weeks 1, 2, and 3, that's with Jimmy Garoppolo. No touchdowns. 71, 49, 80 total yards. Jacobs with Aidan O'Connell, 139 yards of total offense. Yes, AOC used him as a check down, but I'm okay with that. I am never against putting the ball in one of your best playmakers' hands. Like, it's Devontae Adams, it's Josh Jacobs. Those are your 2 most talented players on the offensive side of the football that are actually skill position players. So, it was Jacobs, and guess what? It was Devontae yesterday. Give the rookie more time. He's going to be able to build up some extra chemistry with some of those other players. And then this is the final reason, and honestly, the biggest reason. Jimmy Garoppolo will never be the future of the Las Vegas Raiders. He's never going to be the future. Aidan O'Connell has at least a shot. Do I think that the Raiders should probably draft a QB next season because they're going to be in a spot to draft one? Yeah, I do. But I do not like the idea of just playing Garoppolo just because he's McDaniels' guy. Here's the heartbreaking news. If you play Jimmy Garoppolo for every single game this season, the Raiders aren't making the playoffs. And if you think the Raiders are going to make the playoffs with Jimmy Garoppolo, I feel bad for you. I do. I think you got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, with Jimmy G, at best, this Raiders team's winning 7, 8 games this season. At best. And you know what? If it's at best even that with Aidan O'Connell, I'm okay with that because Aidan has at least the opportunity to be the quarterback of the future. I don't think he's going to be the quarterback of the future, but he has a chance to be. And this season, if we're going to treat it like a throwaway year, because if McDaniels can go out there and just do whatever the hell he wants and it doesn't matter because he's never going to get fired, then this is a throwaway season. Play the rookie. See what you got him. It's never going to be Jimmy, so you might as well see what you got. And once the Raiders do finally realize, okay, if they're in a situation where they have to fire McDaniels because of how bad they are, let's say they have a top 5 pick, God, I hope they bring in a new freaking head coach because I would not trust Josh McDaniels to be able to go out and pick the right quarterback for the job. It actually scares me. I wonder if the Raiders had the number 1 overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft, if they would pass on Caleb Williams. That's how crazy I think McDaniels is. And Mark Davis has to be able to realize that if there was one head coach in the NFL right now to pass on Caleb Williams, it would be McDaniels because McDaniels does what McDaniels wants to do. There's just way too many other talented quarterbacks in the 2024 draft class. The Raiders have to realize you got to get somebody. Maybe it's a Caleb Williams. Maybe it's a Drake May. To me, those are your top two options, and then you can go plan accordingly. So if you're team tank, then maybe starting Jimmy Garoppolo is a move that you want. But if you're like really want Caleb Williams and you really want Drake May, then Brian Hoyer's the option. I didn't even put Brian Hoyer on this show because when the Raiders signed Hoyer this offseason, I said to every single person watching that Hoyer's not the quarterback two. He's the quarterback two on paper, but when Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt, it was going to be Aidan O'Connell's season because that's just what McDaniels does. Again, McDaniels is so easy to be able to figure out what he's going to end up doing. But as it stands right now, the 2024 NFL draft order is this. Chicago Bears at number 1. The Chicago Bears at number 2 via Carolina. Then the Raiders. Then the Broncos. Then the Minnesota Vikings. The reason why it's this is the strength of schedule. When it comes down to Week 7, when the Raiders play the Bears, if the Raiders lose to the Packers, and if the Raiders lose to the Patriots in Week 5 and 6, I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a bunch of Raider fans out there. I don't know if I blame you. Rooting that LA or LV ends up losing to Chicago because it really could be the Caleb Williams Bowl. So I think we can all agree on this, though. Some people are going to want Jimmy Garoppolo to start. Some people are going to want Aidan O'Connell to start. There's probably even some people out there, like I said, that want Brian Hoyer to start. But I think we can all agree that the Raiders hopefully have a new head coach and a new franchise quarterback next season. I know it's not going to be Jimmy Garoppolo. Shit, maybe it's Aidan O'Connell. I don't think it's going to happen. But all I want is to win. And I just want commitment to excellence from Mark Davis to my head coach all the way down. And I don't think that's a lot to ask for.